Hi, welcome to Bride Society. I'm Laura and this is Rebecca.
So this week we are here to talk about what was worth it and what wasn't really worth it, mostly from our experience of having done the whole wedding planning process ourselves from start to finish. In case maybe some of you are wondering where to spend those extra pounds or save those extra pounds.
So we're going to start with the worth it. So the things we thought were definitely worth spending part of our budget on the weddings, and we're starting with photo booths. So these can be a really great way to get your guests up and interacting with the wedding, something for them to do.
Yes.
And also then to have some great photos afterwards as well that aren't the kind of staged group photos, more fun perhaps.
Yeah.
Props.
Yes. Yeah, I really like having those photos from my wedding. But the slight thing on that is that we also had the option for video mode where guests could go in and leave a little message. Now basically nobody did that. There was like 2 messages maybe. So again, if you're given like options in your package, I would maybe go away from picking that kind of video mode, because I think it's just when people are put on the spot going, do you want to leave a message? You go, nope. So yeah, just if you're again wondering what things to pick, that would be my suggestion. So, similar vein, photographer. For me, I would say they were totally worth it. They were great, they were so friendly, they did our engagement shoot as well, so we had a chance to get familiar with them. Now, I did get married almost 8 years ago, and since then, everyone's like smartphone camera phones have come a long way in quality in that time, so maybe you don't feel it's quite as worth it for you, but I know based on the last wedding I went to in the last year was a comment that the bride and groom made to me afterwards, was that actually people aren't sharing their photos in the same way that they used to. Like people don't post like albums on Facebook and stuff like they used to, and there's maybe just the odd top photo like that might go on Instagram or something like that. So they actually didn't, they had a photographer as well, but they didn't, in terms of guest photos, even though lots of people were taking them and I saw lots being taken, no one really shared them with me. In fact, they said I was the only one that pretty much had shared my photos with them. So I guess don't think you can rely too heavily on your guests making up the difference, unless you really know your crowd and think, oh no, they'll definitely do that. So just for me, photographer was definitely worth it.
Now something I had at my wedding was a videographer, and although I don't watch the video all the time,
It's not you go to sleep at night just watching it back.
It is a lovely reminder of the day. The speeches are recorded. It's kind of a snapshot of seeing how people, well, a video basically, rather than the still images. So that was a worth it for me.
Yeah, it's not something I had, but it was something I wanted, but it just couldn't, for me, quite afford it, and money went elsewhere. But yeah, if I had the option, and time again, that is something I would pick. And
I think that's, we were saying before, that's one of the things that's often said. It's a videographer is the one thing that people wish they perhaps had.
I think it feels a bit more of a splurge outside your kind of normal things that you tend to book, even though you don't have to have them, and then there's like the next it's probably where it sits. A wedding website. This was something that I did do for my wedding, and I'm pleased I did it. I just think it's not necessarily worth it for everybody necessarily. So in our circumstance, because my husband's family are all in Canada, there was a lot of extra information to kind of give and to have out there long in advance of maybe formal invitations going out. So I think for us that's quite useful. Or if you're planning your wedding abroad, again, where there could be a lot of additional information that people might want or that might get added throughout the process, again, probably extremely useful. For you more typical like situation wedding, it wouldn't be such a high priority, but it's great for being able to include extra things like maps and people to like arrange meeting places, or all those just those little extra things that you can't really easily include in invitations, or might not want to wait that long.
Yeah, or you don't want to spend the additional cost of having, if you're paying a supplier to make your invitations, kind of each extra page and each extra information sheet would be extra cost, so cost saving as well, I guess. Now quizzes. Now you might think, why are you talking about quiz if we're talking weddings? But I think we both had quizzes on our tables, on the wedding reception tables, as kind of an icebreaker, something for people to do if they didn't necessarily know each other on the tables, something to talk about easily without having the awkward, how do you know the couple? And
there's also a lot of often sitting around, waiting around time in weddings as well.
So something to focus on, an activity. I think you did prizes? Did you do
we did. And I think that was the thing, like we really tried to like actively engage people in it. So this again is one of those things that could go either way. If you're happy for it just to be sort of an added extra, you know, that's there, people can do it or not, it's fine. We really actively tried to get people to engage with it. We literally nominated somebody on each table that was going to take charge of it, who we knew was maybe the more confident, louder character maybe on that table. And we did answers at the end of the reception, like handed out prizes, as Laura said. So we really like made it a thing, and it was engaging, and people were laughing and chatting and all that kind of thing. So for us it really worked, but I think it depends if you're bothered about it, like how you do it. So it's just something to think about. And similarly, games. So if you're thinking about how like having some like garden games or just table games to have out, you think, will people really use them? Will they bother with them? In my experience anyway, at my wedding, people did. In fact, I was just looking at the photos the other day, and there's pictures when I wasn't in the room, so I didn't see it, but just people just howling, laughing, like playing these games with each other, and it looked great because again, there's quite a lot of in between dead time and stuff to fill, and it wasn't the kids that were playing, it was the adults. But again, and I think here's like simple games like Guess Who, Connect Four, like things that people don't have to like sit and massively spend time doing, but it's sort of enough that it's a laugh and people can do it together, it's
We had Crazy Golf set up outside, which I think people used.
I think the weather worked against you.
I was going to say the only problem we had with that is we didn't get much of a chance to have a go on it because we were busy having photos taken.
And I think because I was a bridesmaid, I was sort of around you more, so I didn't notice too much.
So I think other people got to have, it was worth it for them, but for my golf-loving husband, he didn't get to go and have a play on the Crazy Golf. So so it's something that I didn't have but you had at your wedding, was a band, which I think got everybody on the dance floor. I just think they were really good. The lead guy was good at engaging with people too, but and it was just something afterwards, particularly my husband was just like, I'm really glad we got the band, because initially we were just going to go with the singer, like the lead singer, and then we were like, oh, should we have his whole band? and it was worth it for us. But again, this is something where maybe thinking about who's coming, right? I mean, obviously yourselves and what you like, but this is something where we're talking about people getting up on the dance floor, like really being a part of it. Now for me, my husband and I met through salsa, like it was a big part of our lives. A lot of our friends that were coming were salsa people, so we knew people would be dancing. That wasn't an issue for us. But even that said, this band wasn't a salsa band, it was big band music, right? So, but again, I don't think anyone really objects to that kind of music. So I think people just enjoyed that as evening entertainment. Definitely. I enjoyed it.
Good, I'm pleased to hear that. So this isn't something that you didn't have a...
No.
Okay. On the day coordinator. So neither of us actually had this, but having now had my wedding, I see great value in what they would have brought to the day. So it's, especially if you're moving between venues, because sometimes if your reception venue might just have like a sort of coordinator who works there that kind of will do that job. But if you kind of have a separate ceremony venue and things like it might not happen. So they will be the people that will help make sure that things get moved between venues properly and set up how you intended them to be, but also that the music's pressed at the right time for the right thing, and all the little bits, you know, that you then don't have to think about on the day because you've handed that off, or you've not had to hand it off to a relative or something that where you want them to actually just being able to enjoy the day and sit back and relax. So I think it would have been worth it, I think, to have just that somebody running around on the day. It's just that, like, we didn't have wedding planners. Like, if you're outside the UK watching this, in the UK it's not typical to have a wedding planner, although they do exist, and you know, and you may be doing that as well. But yeah, this is, you planned it all yourself, and you know, and so there's no wedding planner there. So I'm suggesting moving into wedding day coordinator towards wedding planner if you...
Yeah, just someone to keep an overview of the day and keep things moving.
Yes, the keeping the people... Herding crowds is a pain sometimes. Like, trying to keep that day.
And then something else that could go either way, but worth it in our eyes, are wedding favours. Depending on what you choose, and obviously budget will have a big impact on how much you want to spend, if you have the budget to be buying favours for all your guests, things like that. But we're big fans of edible favours, I think, and favours that can double up as things.
Yes, like name cards, for example. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think venues often say, like, that's something that often just gets left behind. So really thinking about, like, who it is that's coming to your wedding, what they're likely to sort of take away with them. Obviously one type of favour isn't going to suit every guest you ever had, like, but it's just how you think about it.
Yeah, and if you want to do them, I mean, you might not be interested.
No, that's fine.
Because I didn't have proper favours. We had some extra chocolate brownies and things on the side for people if they wanted, but it wasn't officially a favour. But if you do want to do them, then there are definitely ways of doing them that people won't just leave them on the table.
Mine were popular.
No, yours were very popular.
So now thinking more about what we felt was not so worth it. Now, so this could be an opportunity to save some pounds, but obviously if you've already bought some of these things, just bear in mind, you know, if it's worth it for you, great, you know your guests, you know who's coming, so this will vary from wedding to wedding, okay? It's not exclusive list, so please don't think you've kind of wasted your time or money if something falls on our list. But yeah, so we mentioned about favours and the issue around that already, and so this is a thing. So wedding hashtags. Now I feel like they had a popularity, and they've maybe waned back a bit naturally now. But as we were saying in the worth it, in terms of people sharing photos now, it's not happening in the same way that it used to. And like, I had a hashtag for my wedding. Nobody used it. I don't think one single person. I think just leave it. People will just tag you the regular way if they're gonna do it. I know sometimes people like to come up with like smart ones that are like amalgamation of names and stuff, which is cute and I like it, but people won't use it. Sorry.
Do you think some of that is there's a reluctance to post photos publicly? Like, if you're not sure where the couple stand on other people sharing photos publicly? I'm just wondering.
I don't know. I know what you mean. Like, I have been to one wedding before where the couple have said at the wedding, please don't release any until we posted our official ones. I've had that happen once.
So maybe by that point people have kind of...
And then the ship sailed, it's not at the forefront of their mind anymore. But I don't know, but for me, like, I loved it. I loved, like, after the wedding, you know, and those few days after when you're going, like, travelling on honeymoon and things, that's what you're doing, like, the constant stream of, back then on Facebook, of, like, tag notifications all from the wedding, and photos, obviously, like, from angles you've not seen. You've not had the official ones back yet, so you've not seen any yet. And for me, that was like, I don't really understand why people wouldn't want that.
Okay, moving on. Flip-flops. Now, you may have seen on Pinterest and on Instagram pictures of baskets of flip-flops for people, and with some witty sign about if your feet, well, I can't even think what the witty sign would say now, but about if people having tired feet, if they've been dancing, if you've been wearing heels all day, to swap into flip-flops but to get on the dance floor later on. This is a not worth it for me.
Yeah, and me. Conceptually, yes.
Yeah.
I'm down with the concept. But yeah, just an execution. I don't think I would change into them. I don't feel like I'd necessarily be any more comfortable in them. Yeah, I just don't know how many people would actually change into them.
See, I don't know if I've been to a wedding where they've had them or I've been aware of them. So we might just be out of touch.
Yes, and as I said before, you know your guests, right?
But I feel like they potentially wouldn't be centre stage, like people might not know they're there to take, or I don't know, I guess you've got to buy lots of different sizes to cater for people. So I feel like there might be better ways of spending that money.
Yeah, like if you're on the fence about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, you know your crowd, and you know, if you're part of a big group of girls that you know at the end of the night, you're normally all there with your flats in your bag and you're pulling them out and it's a thing, then roll with it, you know? Or you can even actively encourage it at the wedding. You can go around and get someone to like hand them out. You can put them on and it can all be like a photo opportunity. You know, it really depends just how you frame this stuff.
Yeah.
And so if it's important to you, it's just the saying you might need to give it a bit of a push.
Yeah. In
some kind of way. I think if it's just there, it might not end up being worth the spend. Talking of footwear, expensive shoes. So if you've got a full-length dress, you know, we're kind of told, oh, you should be wearing expensive shoes, you know, because it's your wedding. Nobody will see them if you've got a full-length dress. I mean, that's, you know, we both still got special shoes for the purpose of the wedding, but you got a deal, and mine were on sale, and you know, obviously do what you want. It's just, we're just saying, like, if you're feeling a pressure to kind of go, you must have certain type of shoes for your wedding, say if it's full dress, don't worry about it.
And like, if you're not a shoe person, then if you're more comfortable in, I don't know, you see Converse and all sorts, like, just do what you're comfortable with, and you don't need to spend a fortune unless you want that excuse to splash out on a pair of designer shoes or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Something else that's not necessarily worth it, but something that was nice to have, and I think you said you would do it again. I didn't have one at my wedding, but Rebecca created a bathroom kit. We've put a video on our channel actually of things to put in a bathroom kit, so we'll link that in case it is worth it for you.
Yes. It's ironic that we've listed it and they're not worth it.
It's something that is just kind of that extra.
Yeah.
So, and nice to have.
It's like a nice touch.
Yeah, something thoughtful for your guests. Yeah. Hopefully they won't need a lot of the things that are in the kit, but they're there if they do, and it's just that extra special touch, as you say.
Yeah.
That
I feel like that's a lot of things, and the sort of feedback I got after my wedding, like it was
we all official event, a survey.
Yeah, there was a lot of comments, not necessarily specifically about certain things, but just generally about all the nice little touches that were there. And I think just sort of, even if it's nothing specific like the bathroom kit specifically, but I think cumulatively, people just get this nice sense from the wedding and be like, oh, that was just really special or thoughtful, or, you know, there were just these nice things that added to the day. So if you're trying to save money, or, you know, you're trying to cut out some of the faff, the billions of things you could do for your wedding, then maybe, it's certainly not top priority, but I would still do it again. And when we were talking about this before, as Laura said, most of that stuff is stuff that you could then just gradually use yourself afterwards. So it's not really a waste. It's just, cake bags. So in my wisdom, I was like, well, you know, we're having dessert, so people, you know, there's often maybe a bit of leftover cake at weddings after the cutting of the cake, and I was always going to have cake. Laura made my cake. There was never not going to be cake. cake is life. So, but yeah, I also didn't want it to go to waste. So I made like a whole load of cake bags. Well, I didn't make they were paper bags that I printed "Love is Sweet" on or something. And made a little sign to put out to like encourage people to take it home with them. Problem was, well, boxes would have kind of been better, but was more expensive. But the other thing was, because of the point in the day at which that would have gotten put out, is where an on-the-day coordinator would have been helpful, it just didn't get put out until I happened to notice it hadn't been, by which point the ship had kind of sailed a bit. So it wasn't worth it. I got most of them back. It was a huge amount of time printing individually, and so it was not worth it from that point of view. But yeah, I suppose the story to the moral to that is more about it making sure that someone has made sure that things are actually out as you intended them to be, which would apply to more things than cake bags.
So we'd love to hear if you completely disagree with some of the things we've said, or agree, or if you've got any other thoughts about things that you think are worth it or not worth it as part of your wedding. So leave those in the comments below. Give this video a like, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.